What's going on YouTube? WestHobbiesRC. So today we are back with the project world's fastest helicopter, the SAB Comet build. So now we are going to completely redo the build on this helicopter. And when I mean redo, I mean add a lot more power. So first of all, we finally got our main blades, the Xblade 715S, the designated speed blades. We've been waiting months for these. They finally came in. Still don't have the tail blades, but it's okay. When those get here, we can toss those on. The main blades is what I really needed to get in here. Now, as far as setup goes, we'll go over this in a second. We are running the YGE 255 Opto ESC. What an incredible piece of electronic here. The machining on this ESC just looks insane. 8-gauge power wire. So we'll be going to a YGE 255 Opto, so still battery on it. And we're going 16S, so two 8S packs for 16S. And then we're going to try an idea. So this right here, which I just got done painting. So this is a canard from a SAB Tortuga. Now, my idea with this is we are going to modify the side tail plates here. So we're gonna drill a hole straight through. We are gonna add a clamp in the middle. This is going to slide through the tail, both sides, and this is going to be adjustable, and this is going to give us pitch control. Now, I don't know if I'm going to put it on a servo yet. We'll find that out, but it's going to be able to be adjusted for negative, for down, basically down trim. And the reasoning for that is so that we can keep the nose down and the tail up as we are flying to help with the porpoising and of course these blades. So let's go ahead, get this thing torn down, and let's get the blades off, got the canopy off, and I already went ahead and unplugged this main harness that goes up through here. We can leave the icon and the tail servo, power, all that stuff. So I just labeled them. So now we're gonna go ahead and break all these bolts loose. We got 3 on each side, 2 big, 1 small, and then the whole main assembly can lift up out. And first thing we're gonna do is start figuring out how to mount that tail fin. Assembly is out. I already went ahead and got the heat shrink because these are RC Pro connectors, so they lock. And then I had a piece of heat shrink over them just so they can't pull out. 6mm bullet connectors for the motor. So we're gonna go ahead and desolder them from the ESC because the Hobby Wing is coming off and we are putting the YGE 255 on. This is a Hobby Wing 200, but it only goes to 14S and we are going to 16S. Why? We're running the YGE. Now we do run or have the X-Nova speed motor, the 535 kV, the big series motor. We're gonna check pulley size and figure out our head speed. We wanna run somewhere around 2,600-ish, maybe a little more RPM. So we gotta calculate that on 16S. And then we also did clearance, when I rebuilt the helicopter, clearance the bearing blocks. And we did that so we could get more pitch. I never told you guys that. But anyways, now let's move on. We are ready to leave this together and start figuring out how we are gonna mount our fin. So here is my thought process here. Okay, so this is going to be a trim tab. Basically a fin that is trimmable. Now for right now, it's gonna be fixed onto the helicopter. In the future, we can make it movable on the servo if need be. I don't think that's gonna need to happen though. So after a lot of thinking and figuring out and sitting on this for hours, trying to figure out how to secure this, I came up with my best possible solution that's not permanent, and I could take it off if this does not work. So what I did was I took the back screws out that hold the casing to the carbon fiber boom, and I took the lock nuts out from the inside. This is a canard off of a Tortuga. I cut threads in it, 440 threads, and I notched the back of it so it would clear this bearing here so it doesn't rub. And I also bent it so it's more in line with the tail casing. This will slide all the way through and come out on the back side. And then this is pivotable. And I can put a lock nut and washer that I have here on the back side and torque it down. And then we can add a few degrees of down, more, less, keep it neutral, whatever we need to do. And this will tighten up and suck against the side frame so it'll lock it into place. We're gonna test how strong it is. It also will stop the casing from moving since we removed the bolts. Now the casing is a through rod all the way through to the other side. And you can see the threads come out there. Washer, lock nut, tighten it all down. And that should eliminate our porpoising issue. One thing we need to do before we clamp down and tighten this up, because as this fin slides through here, and we put a lock nut on the back side of it, we're going to squeeze these two together. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna find a piece of aluminum round stock that will fit in between here so we can torque down and not risk bending the side case or cracking the bolt. Went ahead, cut this piece of aluminum, drilled it out, filed it in the drill, and that is going to slide into here and eliminate this from being smushed. Now that is fully tightened up, installed. We have some negative few degrees. Lock nut on the back side. Everything is tightened down. We got that aluminum spacer inside of here, so that way we can't crush the back of the fuselage. So now that is done. Now we are going to move on to putting the mechanics back in the body and get the new ESC. Got the YGE 255 mounted. So now that is installed. I wasn't able to use the front screws for the main reason of that I would have to drill new holes, but that wasn't the reason. The issue is where this massive cap is, there is no way to get a screw through the top. So I was gonna come through the bottom, no way to even get a nut in there. So I don't know exactly how you're supposed to use the screws on the front tabs on these, but what did I end up doing is I used the back two screws and then double-sided tape the ESC to the carbon fiber tray so it is strong. It isn't going anywhere, so I'm not worried about that. So now I need to cut our wires to length, solder on the bullet connectors, and then start rerunning the wires. I had to cut all the harness apart and then rerun it all back. Started wiring everything up. Still have to solder up the RC Pro connectors, but we got our throttle and telemetry line. Now this is an opto, so again, we'll have to run a separate 2S LiPo for the servos, which is what this is for. But we're gonna run back. Under, it goes up to this junction and it comes down here. We still have to heat shrink this down and crimp on new ends. Now, if you're using a YGE ESC and you want telemetry to an Icon or Brain, your yellow wire here will come out. You have two lines. You have a line with a black plug and a line with a blue plug. The blue plug is your telemetry line. Now you have to depin this, and your ground, and then it would be power and then signal. But power is not really power, it's RPM. So you would run this port to governor. So it would be ground at the bottom pin, RPM on the top pin. Then you would depin out the telemetry signal pin, and this is gonna go to channel 5 on the 456 port. So that's how it's set. So we're gonna heat shrink this, reroute everything, shorten these wires, and get this wiring job finished up. All the wiring done, got our fabric paint on, got our main harness double-sided tape to this engine cover cowl. So that's all done, everything's wired up. And I moved the ESC down and I was able to clear the fan. So now we have the fan hooked up, Loctited, plugged in. It's a massive fan, should help a lot with cooling and power. We got the wires cut shorter to the right size that I need. So now I got to solder them and throw RC Pro S7s on there, get that done, and it's ready for its final CG check. Going through the Icon, the Brain, change everything over from Hobby Wing to YGE for telemetry, double check our pitches, positive and negative, and our head speed RPM, and then we can finish this thing up. The blades on it, the Xblade 715S, incredible, crazy looking blades. We got our battery soldered up, 16S, 4,000 milliamps. We are running a single 2S 2250 LiPo for the servos. Got everything zip tied up. We got our fabric paint onto our flybarless unit connectors. We have our tail fin done and at a angled degree. So now this model is done. So let's go ahead, throw the canopy on it and see what it looks like all finished up. Canopy is on, helicopter is balanced out, it is done and ready to fly for Speed Cup. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this video off here. I wanna thank you guys so much for watching. And again, by the time you're watching this, the day after is Speed Cup. So if you guys are at IRCHA, come watch the Comet fly. And let's see if we can take home some trophies and a record. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Take care and have a great day.